And welcome back to the episode of Geek Centurions. Me, boy, Eli.
It's me, Joe.
So we're here to talk about the Summer Game Fest. It just wrapped up, and we are here to talk about not all the games because that was like an hour and a half of a show. And listen, not all the games are going to be big winners. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that seems it's kind of a thing a lot of the times with a lot of these sort of game announcements and stuff. You know.
Yeah.
They're supposed to have something for everybody, but there's gonna be some games that get announced. They're like, oh, okay, yeah, sure, that's fine, I guess.
Yeah, I wanted that Pokemon shooter.
We'll talk about that a little bit.
Yeah. That
Funny enough, there was I think the audience had that reaction when it came to that I think that Honkai Star Rail game.
Yeah.
Where they like showed like, hey, here's some stuff coming in the coming weeks, and also a game coming to PS5 later this year. And all I hear was just like a little bit of light clapping from the audience, like, yeah, okay, that's cool, I guess. You know?
What is the sound of one hand clapping?
But yeah, no, that is yeah, so we'll cover, I think, the more, like, big
some of the bigger stuff. And the thing about it this coming week is that they're going to be talking about a lot of games. And, like, we usually always talk about the Summer Game Fest one more because that's the one that usually comes out with a lot of big hitters. And then there's, like, random hits in between the week.
Yeah, Jeff Keighley really, really likes having his world exclusive premieres. Or I think this time he was calling them, like, global premieres or something like that.
All right, calm down, Jeff.
Jeff doesn't want world premiere to be a meme anymore. He wants it to be global.
No, you capitalize on the meme. That's what you do. Like, if you found a good meme, and that is a good meme, you capitalize it. You have it on there. But no, yeah, we'll be talking about some of the games. Like I said, there's some games that were announced later on. They'll be announced later on. But we're mostly going to be focusing on this one because, like, out of nowhere, Atlas apparently accidentally leaked out their trailers for Persona 3 Reloaded and Persona 5 Tactics.
Yeah,
that was weird.
Yeah, I guess that's supposed to be a Persona 3 remake, which has been rumored for a little bit.
Yeah.
So, that's kind of funny.
Funny, I just started playing Persona 3, now I gotta wait for the remake.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're gonna talk about the first game that came out, that was announced on there, and it's a game that we're gonna be talking about. Alright, so the first game that was announced was Mortal Komabt 1, which a game we already knew about.
It was our first actual in-depth look of Mortal Komabt 1.
Yeah, and now we got a lot of shit to talk about with that game. Cameos to, like, gameplay to...
the new story.
Yeah, because if you haven't played it, Mortal Kombat 11 essentially ends with Liu Kang becoming a god and restarting the universe in his image.
Well, yeah, he does a universal reset.
Yeah.
And yeah, we have Liu Kang is now in the Raiden role of the story. Raiden is just a normal human dude who still has electric powers or whatever. Yeah. But it's just sort of like there are certain changes into the story that we know about now.
Yeah.
And you're kind of just like wondering, okay, so how is this gonna unfold then, right?
Yeah, but the most important part of it is that we got to see gameplay. So it's kind of like an assist fighter. If those of you don't know what that means, essentially think of like Marvel vs. Capcom, but like instead of switching characters, the other character essentially just is there for extra level of combos.
Yeah, like it's not like a tag team fighting game.
No,
where you can pick two characters, but you're only in control of one, and the other one is just there to
help out, do certain attacks or moves and stuff to either extend your combos, or to like get out of, or like to break combos. If you're in a combo, they'll jump in to break you out of it and stuff, which is kind of neat. And from what we've seen so far, they're all like characters like original character, not from the first game, but in their original outfits and stuff like that. Sonya is in the white, blue, and black outfit from the first game. Kano looks very much like he did in the first game. Jax is Jax without metal arms. Mm-hmm. But you still got characters like Sub-Zero, Scorpion, Johnny Cage. Kenshi's back. Happy to see that boy. Mm-hmm. And, Raiden, Kung Lao, Katana, 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 Raiden,
Melina. Yeah. And like I said, I think that what really caught me aside from like the gameplay was like, what the hell is going on with the story? Because it's made in Liu Kang's idea. It's from the first trailer, right? Free of whatever, but bullshit because like Shang Tsung is around. We did get. I think there's a certain number of character slots there already announced too.
Yeah, there is. During the presentation, Ed Boon came out and they're showing more stuff of it, and we actually do see the character select screen and the cameo fighter assist screen as well. So it does seem like there's going to be a bit of a sizable roster, and all that stuff. And we do also know that, like, just because there is a fighter that's a cameo fighter does not mean that they will solely be a cameo fighter. Big example being Sub-Zero, who, if you go watch the actual trailer, he shows up as a playable character, and he has a cameo fighter that's more reminiscent of his old school look. So yeah, that's going to be kind of interesting to see all that sort of stuff. Like, because we know Johnny is in the game as a playable character, so we might see like Sonya Blade as well, but like in this universe, besides her OG outfit, maybe Jax as well.
Yeah, maybe some updated outfits, because they did show that like some of the outfits that they had was very much meant to be like hearkening to MK11, the original one.
Yeah,
OG MK. So that's gonna be real cool. But like again, I was saying that another thing aside from the gameplay, was the story, right? Because it's, like I said, made in his image. Melina and Katana seem to be cool at first.
Well, yeah, because they are sisters, but obviously Melina's been kind of crazy.
Yeah, well, they're not sisters, right? They weren't raised together. They weren't like, they didn't come from the same parent. Melina's more of a clone, but the idea is like a sister, They called each other sisters. But in this one, I don't know the relationship is, but they seem to be very much like friendly, or starts off as friendly and could end up being worse. But it's implied that Melina is not of like a clone of Katana with Baraka DNA.
Yeah, with the mouth and stuff.
Yeah,
actually, we do see that like it's like she might be like pre-mouth stuff.
Yeah,
it's kind of interesting because we do in sort of like the story beats we do see like her having like developing the mouth over time or whatever.
Yeah,
which that'd be kind of interesting to see.
Yeah, she becomes more I don't know what they're called, but Baraka.
Tarkatan or whatever.
Tarkatans, yeah. I'm very bad at pronouncing names. But to move on, because that was a really cool thing to start off with, especially since everyone was very much like hyped up for that game when it was announced. Like the views on YouTube for that first trailer is insane. But hey, it's like me and Dan were talking about. Fighting games are back, and I'm happy to see it. The next game that we were talking about, Joey.
I might go a little bit out of order here.
Oh no, yeah, go for it.
But I think sort of the other big game to come out, looking at all this stuff, was I believe Alan Wake 2.
Yeah, which was a game that came out, I want to say a decade or two ago.
I want to say came out at least in maybe 2010.
Yeah,
at the least, because I know it was on the 360. So it was definitely of the 7th generation consoles. It's very interesting sort of like, I wouldn't say survivor horror, but more of just regular like horror game.
Yeah, mystery too.
Yeah, like if you've ever, I think it's like if you ever seen Resident Evil 7 and 8 and stuff, like you can kind of see like they share similar roots to the Alan Wake game. Back in the day, and it getting a sequel is kind of cool. But yeah, we saw actual gameplay of it, so that's kind of like
a lot of things that very much harken to that original game.
Yeah, I think the other one I saw that was announced was a sort of new trailer for Lies of P, which was this Soul-esque game based on Pinocchio
Yeah.
with a steampunk aesthetic. And the crazy thing was that I think it's going to release in September, and it has a demo on all platforms.
Yeah, so if you guys want to try that out, go for it. I'm thinking about trying it out. But it's one of those. Okay, so it's one of those things where like Souls games are kind of like, I wouldn't say the new hot thing. I think they're kind of like in the medium of it because I feel like when Dark Souls 2 came out, that's when it was the big hot thing, right?
Well, yeah, around Dark Souls 2, 3 is when we started seeing a bunch of Souls clones, and heck, I mean, From Software started making other games, but in the same template, like Bloodborne, Neo, what was that again?
Sekiro.
Sekiro. That a lot of those games, you know, and I think I remember there was like one made by a different studio that was like sci-fi based, like you had like a mech suit or something like that. I forget the name of it.
Was it a mech suit or was it like a body?
Actually, now that I think about it, it kind of reminds me of the the end of Aliens.
Oh,
Ridley's in the
I think
giant.
It's called the Surge or something like that.
Yeah, I think it might have been the Surge.
Yeah, I've been meaning to try that game because it looks like the more like simpler version of that. But then, like, I mean, From Software came out with their latest hit, which was Elden Ring. Sorry.
Yeah, Elden Ring. I think being, I think that's probably. We're probably gonna reach the point where Souls-like games are a dime a dozen, and people are tired of them.
Yeah, but not with this one though.
No, I think this one still has a lot of interesting things about it.
Yeah,
and it's obviously an adaptation of an old fairy tale classic, so that brings a lot of cool, interesting things about it.
And I think what it is about the Souls genre, do we call it a genre now, or do we call it like a?
Yeah, it's kind of like, is it like a genre in the same way like a Metroidvania is?
Yeah.
Like, but how long did it take for Metroidvanias to be an actual term to describe a game, right?
Yeah, because it took a while.
So, I mean, because it's kind of like not disrespectful, but like a disservice to just call like a regular action adventure game. Because it has its own elements that make it unique that a lot of other games have been trying to replicate. Yeah. But like, I think what makes the Souls game or Souls-esque, games very interesting is that it's the way they're executed, right? Mm-hmm. Because like Elden Ring does not play like a Dark Souls, right? It does not play like a Demon Souls, right? Or Surge or any other like Souls-esque game, right? There's something always kind of unique to them. Sekiro is not the same as Lies of P, right? Lies of P has its own thing going on, and you can tell from the trailer, you can tell from the gameplay. It's very much Souls, but there's something about it that makes it unique. I think that's what makes that kind of like sub-genre, I guess, would you call it? Unique to itself, right? Lies of P, I think there's a reason why a lot of people are hyped up for that game, because one, the art style is amazing. It's really catching your eye. Like you said earlier, an IP based on a existing property that decides to tell something unique about it. And Souls games are pretty fun. Yeah. When they're being not too much of an annoyance. Well, I mean, I feel like the whole point of Souls games has always been like
challenging.
Yeah, like they were purposefully challenging. Yeah. And you have to sort of maneuver your way around and stuff like that. Yeah. Another game that I think caught my interest that is just kind of just more for the comedy of it than anything is Jeff Keighley described it perfectly. Power World.
Oh yeah, that one.
A game that has you collecting little monsters, a la Pokemon, but
Pokemans.
You use guns. There's a lot of guns going around. Like the monsters can use guns. You can use guns to shoot at them. It's just if you can probably just go watch the trailer. I think it's a perfect.
Calling it like a Pokemon with guns is not an understatement.
It's not.
It's not.
That's why I say Jeff Keighley described it perfectly when he was announcing the game.
Yeah, it's really weird. No, it's very accurate the way he described it. Because like when you would say so I was busy and I wasn't able to watch most of the thing, but when I was able to, I watched it, and you told me to watch out for that paw lands, right? And I was like, what are you talking about? Like, you'll see. And like you gave me that same description, and I was like, sure, I guess it'll be like. And then it's literally the 5 seconds, I'm like, that's a fucking Gyarados. That's a Gyarados right there. You can't tell me different. I know that.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of the interesting thing about the game itself as well, is that you can definitely see it, some of these designs being like, okay, yeah, no, that does definitely look like something out of Pokemon.
Now, granted.
Like a bootleg, right?
Now, granted, there's how many Pokemon in Pokemon?
I think we're at 1,000 at this point.
Yeah, so at some point, the designs are going to be like, you know... There's even some Pokemon nowadays that look like bootlegs of other Pokemon.
I mean, yeah.
Like at some point, the creativity well is run up dry, right? Mm-hmm. So it doesn't surprise me. But yeah, I like the reaction of the crowd when I was watching this.
Yeah, because you could hear the crowd sometimes, and they were all just sort of like busting out laughing. You know, like, what are we watching? You know?
What is this? But I like how it ends. It's like. Yeah, okay, that was a thing.
Yeah. But anyways, going to sort of another game that I think was pretty interesting is Sonic Superstars.
Oh my god, I love it.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ, hit you with a bat of nostalgia. I was into it.
I mean, yes, because if you haven't seen the trailer, it's basically another 2D Sonic game. Updated, like pretty good looking graphics. You get to play as either Sonic, Tails, Knuckles, Amy, and you can do 4-player co-op as well, up to 4 players. So that's kind of neat. And there was a tease for another Sonic character. I forget the name of this character, but they're pretty obscure. They're like a coyote, right?
Huh?
They're like a coyote or something.
Yeah, coyote. Yeah, he was like a gunslinger dude. I remember him because I remember we ended up getting, or someone we know got that Sonic fighting game collection, whatever.
No, it was a Sonic collection of like a bunch of Sonic games, like I think the first 3, and some of the other ones like CD or you had Sonic Racing, where it's just the Sonic characters racing around, and it was Sonic the Fighters.
Yeah, that's the one I mostly played out of the collection that this person had. And I always chose that guy because I thought it was funny how he had guns. Mm-hmm. And so, seeing him, I was like, oh, I remember this dude. He's a funny dude.
Yeah, so we could probably be seeing some more playable characters. Yeah. So that's going to be kind of neat. But yeah, it's a very much...
I love the way it harkens back to those original, like, trilogy. Because it gives you that vibe, right? That vibe of like, oh, this is the old school way, especially because like I feel not to crap on like the 3D games, because I love Adventure, I love Heroes, I loved some of the newer ones, but there's something about those original titles of Sonic that just like hits different, right?
I mean, I don't disagree with that.
Yeah,
but I also know Sega has also understands that, because I mean we had Generations that was kind of a bridge between 3D and 2D Sonic.
Then we had Mania.
Yeah, and then we had the Mania, like, which is like straight up like using that, not the old engine, but like,
and for whatever reason we had a murder mystery.
Well, I mean that's not really a 2D one, that's just completely different. I know what you're talking about. But yeah, no, it's clear that Sega understands that the Sonic fan base has like people who really love the old school 2D adventure side-scrolling platformers, and people who really love the 3D, Sonic games, and they've been doing their best to try to appeal to both. Mm-hmm. And so it's kind of neat to see them keep on that sort of way. I mean, Mario does it pretty well.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's obvious that I think Sega does the same thing for Sonic.
Yeah.
Another game that I think was a pretty big reveal for the most part, sort of like getting confirmation of release dates was Spider-Man 2.
Yeah, it's coming out October, right?
October 20th, yes.
Yes. And there's a lot of like story confirmations, and also DLC stuff. But most importantly, it's like we have Venom. We are showing off Venom. Also, probably not Eddie Brock. And I'm like, sure, buddy. Sure. But no, the game, when it was announced during the PlayStation Showcase, was probably one of the bigger announcements, right? So seeing more of it, well, more like, hey, this is when it's coming out, is just, it's good. I like that. Thank you.
Right? Yeah, it's a nice thing. We saw, some key art of Kraven and Venom and stuff, and like potential teases of like maybe some more villains, maybe more Marvel heroes potentially.
Yeah,
which is probably like I think the one comment that slid by that I think people aren't really talking about, because we had like I think they had the project lead on stage with Jeff Keighley, and he was asking the questions, and he did mention like you could be potentially seeing other Marvel heroes. Yeah. Now, does that mean Avengers are making a cameo? Maybe not. Probably not. But
maybe Wolverine.
Maybe Wolverine, because Insomniac is making the Wolverine game, but. More so, I think it's more going to be maybe some lower street level heroes like Daredevil or stuff like that.
Luke Cage, Iron Fist.
Yeah,
kind of stuff. Yeah, the heroes for hire. Yeah, no. I'm very excited for that game. They also released like some of the costume stuff, some 9-inch.
Like collector's edition stuff.
Right? Yeah, it was really cool stuff. I'm looking forward to the game. It took them a while to bring that out, but yeah, very hyped for that. I enjoyed Miles Morales and the first one. Very excited to see how they handle Kraven and Venom. It's hopefully here's to good news. Do we have another game to talk about real quick?
Yeah, just sort of more like I guess interesting considering recent gaming stuff that's happened over the past couple of weeks.
Yeah.
New Lord of the Rings game, Return to Moria, which you followed the dwarves.
Yeah.
And
that's cool.
It seems like kind of like they're digging around stuff. Like if you look up the trailer, it's kind of interesting. But I only bring it up because it's like
off the heels of
the Gollum game.
Holy shit, that was I liked the idea when I first heard it. But I barely saw anything, and I immediately forgot about it. And then all of a sudden, like, oh yeah, the game's out. I was like, oh, the game's out? Okay, let's go. Oh my god, it looks terrible.
Yeah.
And then, like, apology note, but it's like, what is going on with, like, the Lord of the Rings property right now? Right? So, I mean, hearing that the Return to Moria, that sounds like, and it looks at least a bit like it's going to be a little better. Right? But, like, I don't blame people for having reservations, because a lot of people didn't like Gollum, rightfully so. And I know when the show came out, the Rings of Power, it was like very mixed to like negative reception for that game. Show, right? Yeah. And so like I don't know, it's we'll wait and see, but like it seems like a very nice game where you play some dwarves.
Yeah. Probably sort of another interesting note that I guess it's more sort of like me not knowing that the series has changed its name.
Yeah.
We are getting a new Yakuza game.
Oh yeah, the Like a Dragon.
Yeah, that's the title of the series going forward, I'm guessing, Like a Dragon.
I think it's just a specific spin-off, but yeah.
I mean, maybe. But yeah, it is kind of interesting,
Yeah.
New Yakuza game, they're always pretty neat and fun and stuff like that. I'm pretty sure Daniel's pretty...
he's hyped. Yeah, he's hyped. He told me that.
Definitely hyped. Yeah. But yeah, cool. Seeing new Yakuza game.
Yeah.
And stuff like that. I think the last sort of actual, like, super huge thing for the Summer Game Fest this year was Final Fantasy VII Rebirth.
Yeah. We also got a release window.
Yeah, early next year.
Not a date, but release window, yeah.
Yeah, early next year.
Yeah.
Which is kind of neat to see. We got gameplay, we got, story beats, a bunch of stuff.
It's so. Final Fantasy VII Remake was such an interesting game where not only were you able to replay like the 7-bit like in higher graphics, more of an explorable way to view the game, but also like story changes and like that continues on into this one because it's there's a lot of stuff that's being implied, but it's still there's still like plot beats. I'm like, oh, I remember this random this chick from like what was that group was called the Turks. Yeah, the Turks. Yeah, like, oh yeah, I forgot she was in the game. Also, Yuffie's in here now. That's right, because this is where she would show up, right? And but now it's also implying like Sephiroth is doing some shit. What is he doing? What are you doing, Sephiroth? Get away from Tifa.
Yeah, it's kind of like one of those things of like if you played the remake, like first one, you're kind of just like, okay. Like there's some interesting things that they're doing that are like changes to the story. But at the same time, like you still have all those familiar story beats, enough of the familiar story beats to make it different.
Yeah.
I mean, heck, obviously turning the first game into just Midgar for the whole game. When Midgar was only like just I wouldn't say like 30 minutes, but like just one small portion of the whole game back in Final Fantasy VII.
It was like the first hour, not legitimately like the first hour, but like the first hour of a movie.
Yeah, more or less, yeah. And the other big thing about Rebirth is that it will be on 2 discs.
Even in this current console generation, we still have to deal with the idea of 2 discs.
Well, I would say this is probably the first time in a long time.
Yeah.
We've had to have a multi-disc scenario here because, the 360 and I think sometimes the PlayStation would have multi-discs game stuff. I remember L.A. Noire doing that. I think the Assassin's Creed kind of did that where mainly because to split single player and multiplayer.
Yeah.
But there was a lot of these things. Heck, the original Final Fantasy VII was played on 3 discs.
Yeah, because it was that big.
Yeah, so it is kind of funny in tradition that Final Fantasy VII is now already at 3 discs, and we know. I mean, as far as I understand, like, I don't know where the end point of this part of the story for Final Fantasy VII will be.
Yeah. Because I recall the last disc was mostly just that last section of the game, right?
Yeah, because at first you would kind of assume that like maybe it'll do it like a trilogy kind of thing.
Yeah.
To base it off the 3 discs of the original Final Fantasy VII, but I mean, we really don't know.
Yeah.
And I think Square Enix has made comments suggesting that it is entirely possible it won't be a trilogy. It'll be like a series of games. How many? I don't know. And that's probably the one thing that really annoys me about this whole Final Fantasy VII Remake stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Is that, it's going to be like a bunch of different games over the course of like fucking 5, maybe 10 years to make, which is kind of annoying,
Yeah, they're really milking the cow out of 7. More so than I think physically possible for that one cow.
Yeah, like whenever people joke before they announced the Final Fantasy VII Remake, it was like, they'll only ever do it if, Square Enix, they press the red button.
Yeah. It's like, okay, we need money. Press the button.
Yeah. And they found, I guess, a perfect way of continuously making that money from Final Fantasy VII.
Yeah.
Just like, yes, we'll do a remake, but we won't remake all of the game. Because simply, to make a game like that, of that scale, on,
whatever current console is out.
Yeah. And with more shit in it, like, it's going to take us forever to do. So we're going to split it into as many parts as we need to
just to milk it out. And we're not kidding about milking it out, because remember, they also talked about, what is it?
Ever Crisis.
Ever Crisis, which is essentially just the original games
on your phone.
On your phone.
And then some other stuff. And I think there's even like a side plot with Sephiroth. It's a completely different game or whatever.
I think he's fighting the character from Stranger of Paradise. That's implied. I'm
just weird. Yeah, it's kind of just like, what the fuck? You know?
Also, remember, they did shut this down, but remember that,
Oh, yeah, First Soldier?
Yeah.
That was their Battle Royale.
Yeah.
And then it was like, they shut it down because no one was playing it.
Yeah, because it barely lasted a year, I think.
Yeah.
Which is so sad.
I mean, it's kind of sad if you're a super fan of the Final Fantasy VII universe.
Yeah.
But for me, it's sort of just like, well, what do you expect?
I find it funny, though, that Square Enix will milk the crap out of Final Fantasy real hard, especially again when it comes to 7, yes, but also like they will squeeze it out. Because remember 15, how much stuff they squeezed out of that?
Technically 13 too.
Oh yeah, they did. Well, I mean that one was designed to be a trilogy at some point, right?
Yeah.
But like there was also a lot of other stuff that I'm like, oh god, you guys are really milking this one.
Yeah, it was like set in the same universe thing. I mean, how 15 was supposed to be like a spin-off of 13 until it became its own thing.
Because it took Nomura forever just to like settle on something.
Nomura.
Yeah, and then like once they figured out, like, oh, we can milk this because people have been waiting for 10 years for this. They made a movie, separate games. The development was hell. It was literal hell because if you look up the development, it's like really like what's going on, right?
Mm-hmm.
But like but I think it's gonna be a fine game. They've proven it was with the last game and the DLC that we'll be fine. We'll be fine. Mm-hmm. Like no matter what happens, like the 7 will make money.
Yeah. All I know is that I remember.
Screw it up.
All I remember from 15 was also they made a bunch of DLCs.
Yeah.
That was expanding the story that make it make more sense.
Yeah, because like they could again, they really didn't have
any more time.
Yeah, because they were rushing them boys. It's like 10 years to make. No, it wasn't 10 years. That was like 10 years of trying to figure out what this game is going to be about. Mm-hmm. I could talk about this forever because I actually do like 15. 15 is like one of my favorite Final Fantasy games. People look at me weird, but like I will stand that game. But yeah, anyways, that's about it. But yeah, there'll be more announcements. We won't cover those, but like you'll probably hear it and you'll be excited about it as well.
Yeah, you know, it's kind of one of those neat, like nice, relaxing weekends. You know, just a bunch of games coming out ever since the death of E3. You gotta you fill the hole up with something, right?
Yep. But yeah, I think that's a good place to end it. Anyways, guys, if you like what you heard, be sure to follow us on all social medias, Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. At the Geek Centurions, we're most active on Instagram. Be sure to follow us there. And if you like, you can go to the link tree to check out all the official podcasting sites we're with, like Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify. Link to the YouTube for your audio listeners out there. Like, comment, subscribe. We do have a Patreon for that for support. And yeah, it's me, your boy Eli.
Me, Joe.
And you guys go out there and enjoy some games. Have a good one. Peace.